For all those business owners, entrepreneurs out there, if you're thinking about franchising your business, then you have questions. Where do you go? Where do you start? So we looked at the top 5 questions on Reddit, and today we're going to discuss answers to each of them. Top 5 questions about franchising your business. All right, guys, and welcome, Nick. Welcome, everyone. It was interesting. I go to Reddit, I look at the top 5 questions about franchising, and if I could kick off our conversation today, because one of the questions that kicked off a big conversation on Reddit, it was so interesting and so typical of so many things we see here at GoodSpark. And the question, or it started in the Reddit thread, was I run a fairly successful business doing a million plus in revenue, healthy profit margins. I had a franchise consulting group reach out to me, and we have a call set up in the next few weeks. And this person shared, he goes, I've grown my business. I don't have any debt. I don't want to deal with a large staff. I'm looking to scale and grow. And then he left off one of his questions. And what I want to use to frame this whole conversation, he was looking to prepare for when he speaks to a consulting group, what he should know about, right? And for me, that was very interesting, kicked off the top 5 questions. But Nick, this is something that's very common. Like, we'll get calls from business owners that were solicited, pre-called by development companies. I think I've done videos on that, and that's certainly a red flag there. And this is not all about red flags, but it's all about consultants, franchising your business, top 5 questions. Before we dive into them, based on what the intro, business owner, million plus revenue, healthy profit margins, no debt, wants to grow, but doesn't want more employees. What are your initial thoughts?
First of all, great insight by you for today's topic. Why not just go to Reddit and figure out what people are asking so that we can address it? I think that's genius. Second comment on the opening. I mean, at back of the napkin, it sounds good. Like, you have the metrics. When you go north of $1 million at a 5% royalty, franchisor is going to bring in $50,000 a year in fees that can now be used to support. But I don't want a larger staff. If you franchise, eventually you're going to need to grow your support staff because you're going to be in the business of supporting franchisees. So I don't love that part. I like that they are trying to solicit feedback for how to talk to a consultant because, and we've talked about this on previous discussions, it's snake oil. Like, there's a lot of franchise consultants that sell snake oil. And so this person's guard was up because they were caught off guard by a consultant proactively reaching out. I've used this example before, and it's not to drive someone away from being a franchisor by any means. The example is we had a client, about $1.5 million average unit volume, but their net profitability was less than 10% on the $1.5 million. So still, for a corporate business, he made $150,000 per unit. Sounds good. The issue is not that. It's that now if a franchisee was involved with a 5% royalty and a 2% marketing and tech fee, that franchisee is going to make 3%, and that's not a good investment. And so he had 2 consultants that were both like, you should be exploding, and now you need PR marketing, like, go spend the money. And I got in there and I said, I would pump the brakes. I don't think you have a good business opportunity. You could go do marketing. I could take your money, but it's not going to be good because as great as it is for you, 150 is great for you. Times 5, you make great money. At 3%, it just is upside down. And so I say all those things because you have to now align the P&L back to what a franchisee profitability is. And I would take off another 5 or somewhere between 5 and 10% to get there. So that's my feedback.
And it's a good economic positioning, right? And we're going to come back to that, especially inside preview here. Question number 3 is, what should I know before talking to a development group? And we're going to come back to the profitability factor. So top 5 questions. And number 1, and we're going to go in and out on these. And question number 1, should I franchise or wait and cell phone locations? Go, Nick. I have an opinion on this.
It depends on your capital position. I mean, most brands decide to franchise their business because they don't have the strongest capital position to be able to scale corporate locations at the scale that they want. So it's another investor type strategy. I think it's a genius strategy where if it works out right, the franchisee operates the units and can make a good return on their investment versus an investor, a passive investor might make a good return on their investment, but they're not operating the business. So it's certainly viable. If you have the capital position and they kick off so much cash, then I don't know that franchising makes sense for you. I would keep going corporately, um, if you have then the right energy to put against it. That's the next side. If you don't have the energy to hustle for multiple location build, that's another reason to put your energy towards supporting franchisees instead.
And so to this question, right, should I franchise or wait and cell phone locations? What I would say is I don't even think that's a decision that has to be made. You have your corporate locations, you're successful. Now there's two pathways: organic growth, where you open up more locations, uh, or you franchise, or you do both. And so my answer is if you have the validation, if you have good corporate locations and believe it could be duplicated by franchisees, then you can franchise, but you could also open up more locations. You could do both at the same time. We have clients, Nick, some of our clients where they've franchised their business and decided only to sell four, five, or six, and have gone on to open up 20 more corporate locations. And then we have clients where they've had one corporate and they've gone on to sell 50 franchise locations. What's going to happen is, as a franchisor, first of all, you need to set the right foundation, enter the franchise world the right way. But after you do that, you're going to evaluate what's the best use of your resources. Is it supporting those franchisees, making sure they're successful? Is it opening corporate locations, or can it be both? And so the answer is it's never bad to have multiple locations and multiple validation that you've opened up, because that becomes an even stronger indicator for franchising your business. But we do have 100, 200 unit franchise systems that started off with one corporate location. Question two, and this one, and again, these are the top 5 questions, and we have limited time. So, cost. Does 50, this Reddit reader or person had written, does 50,000 cost seem right to franchise my business?
I mean, it depends on the definition of franchise or business. Could you
Nick,
get an FDD and an ops manual for that price point? Yes. So technically, you can have two of the pieces that are going to be fundamental to franchising your business. After $50,000 is spent, do you have money left over to now build a franchise development website, to market your franchise opportunity beyond your four walls and your network, to build a right plan to either grow organically or through the broker network? No. So yeah, so in the sense of FDD modeling and an ops manual, sure, you can get there, but then you're playing a huge crapshoot because you just deployed $50,000 on those two things.
So I think that's a great answer. The answer is yes. You can go from where you are to becoming a franchisor, right? And GoodSpark is a franchise development company, and if you, one of the keys we've focused on out of frustration over the years, not for us, but wanting to see brands grow, is our development services have 3 tiers, and it's meant to be capital smart, meaning let's deploy capital at the right stage for you at the right moment, as long as we have correct expectations. So the answer is you can at 50,000. Where I get frustrated, and one of the reasons why we created GoodSpark, is we've seen so many new franchisors enter the space and they've spent 100,000, or they spent 20,000, or, and worse than the wasted capital is the wasted time, the lost opportunity. So I'll see someone who spent 100,000. Charles, I spent this on this consulting company. They did modeling, they did operations manuals, they did projections, they did all these things. And they gave me this big booklet and they promised all these relationships. But when I look under the hood, it's very generic. And they reviewed my website or they recommended someone. And then when I look at the website, that's generic. And the difficult part becomes 2 years later, they haven't gained traction. So for you as a franchisor, does 50,000 cover it? It does, but you need to have the right expectations. One, let's not waste the 50,000. Let's focus on the development of the FDD, the operations manual. Then you want to be very smart strategically how you're positioning your franchise brand, what you're doing with your franchise sales website, and what's the interest in your brand? If you have organic interest, people ready to buy who are qualified, then that's that much less to spend on marketing budget. So the answer is yes, but you need the right expectations and you need a good plan. And certainly, if all you have to invest in your franchise and becoming a franchisor is $50,000, then probably the advice is do not make this decision.
I mean,
Right?
the disruptor that's happening right now is AI can offset some of that templated stuff that's going on. I mean, while you're talking, I was like, I'm curious because I heard from you. You just said basically they got a templated website review, and so I just took Paris Baguette's franchise site, popped it into ChatGPT, and I said, can you review our website and tell us what you think we can improve to attract multi-unit franchisees? And told us what's working well. It said opportunities to elevate franchise buyer appeal, clarity on ROI and P&L, territory structure information, training and support specifics. Like it actually just did it. And so you probably looked at something that was super templated that had no information where that development company could just popped it in ChatGPT and probably had more insights. But that's where this intersection is going to happen when franchising your business. AI is going to do some of the templated stuff, and it's probably going to do it better than anybody else. And that's where the consultancy of trusting someone that can really advise what we're talking about is this business actually profitable enough to grow as a franchise system? Some of those things will be very essential to where you want to go in business.
Well, and Nick, to that point, right? So if that website evaluation is talking about unit profitability, and the other point is even if a certain consultants, if AI tells that to them, they don't know how to translate that story in a genuine way in terms of the website. So for everyone watching this video, if you look at some of GoodSpark brands and our clients, and you see what you're going to find are founder-driven brands that are rolling up their sleeves. We're doing it cost effectively because they're fully engaged. They're coming to Fran Camp conferences. They're part of GoodSpark's Campfire coaching. But these founders are gaining lift because they're telling their stories. They're becoming very asymmetrical. They're not just talking about just generic things. And so as you think about franchising your business and where to spend your money, please understand you really need a resource where you're going to learn and become empowered. We need you in the driver's seat, your story, you meeting other franchisors like in the Good Spark community. And then we're going to build around that, right? We don't, even if you had, and this happens often, we tell clients, even if you had $1 million to spend on marketing your franchise in the first year, probably going to waste that money because you need to build the right foundation. And what one concern we have is so many consultants and developers, they want to take those dollars up front and they make you believe you could jump over the foundation building part. And that's where time gets lost and opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm giving a piece of advice to franchisors that are going through this and using a consultant that's obviously not us, I would say give us three of your brands. Your biggest success story is great. Like, let us talk to them. Then we want a brand that you helped franchise 3 years ago that is stuck. And then we want one brand that you helped franchise, say, recently that is stuck. I want to talk to the two stuck ones and I want to ask them, what would you have done differently in the process? And it's not to validate out that consultant. It's more so to ask those franchisors, what was the miss here? Because if you understand that, then you make a decision if you want to correct that or not.
Yeah, look, that's critical. And that was part of the Reddit questions, like what do I ask them? And so you're talking about successes and what's interesting, or I'll have conversations with entrepreneurs and they'll be like, Charles, I'm on these consultant websites and they list hundreds of brands going across Ford Motor Company or all these other companies and these founders, and the founders are validating. And please understand that what may have worked 10 years ago or 5 years ago, number one, understand that many of these development companies haven't worked with all these brands, or if they did, it was in just a very minute level in a, a tangential way. But what worked maybe 10 years ago for one brand that happened to be new in an industry and get lift doesn't mean it's going to work for you today, no matter how genuine the consultant is. And so we're at a new level. There's a lot of change, AI, media, where you could be in the driver's seat as a franchisor. And the foundational principles behind GoodSpark is sparking you, right? And building up what you need to do. So don't over rely on everyone and everyone's promise, even if they've had the biggest successes. Okay, so question one was, should I franchise or wait at cell phone locations? I think the answer is you can do both. And the bigger question becomes, are you ready? Two, cost. Does 50,000 cover it? Well, sure. Preparation of the operations manual, FDD, and you could even get some strategic insights there. But don't be overpaying for generic things and promises of everything, because I think that's where you could run into some trouble. In fact, when I was looking at the Reddits, one of the comments was, let's see here. One of the comments to that initial question was another reader writing, be careful and don't just buy a bundled package, right? And that's a big thing when you're franchising your business. And we're a development company and we do offer services that cover everything from start to finish. Doesn't mean it's right for you, but don't just go in and pre-purchase. I'm going to buy all these services, because sometimes it takes time to develop your brand story, your website. You want that evolution. You want your operations manual evolve. So let's just be very cost effective and strategic. Question number 3. What should I know before talking to a development group? And Nick, I think you mentioned some of the primer issues about what they've done, but when I'm thinking about what should I know before talking to a development group, I think number one, understand there's good companies and there's companies out there just to sell you on the concept of franchising. And in addition to GoodSpark, there's some legitimate companies out there that have been operating many years and and are dedicating what they're doing. I think the other important part is to understand motivations. Are they out there trying to sell you on franchising your business? Because that's their primary revenue driver, and that's okay. Like we do that at GoodSpark, although our heart and soul comes after that, which is the coaching and the long term relationship and growth of your franchise system. But when you're speaking to developers, a lot of times my frustration, Nick, you've seen this, someone spends a ton of money with these development companies and then they're just dropped into franchise universe. They're like, go to a trade show because then we're going to introduce you to people, but they're not ready for a trade show, or run Facebook ads and qualify leads. Or some of the developers that I'm not, will say, well, don't worry about anything. We're going to run all your leads and qualify your candidates, and we're going to sell your franchises. On that point, on what should I know? What do you have there, Nick? This is a dog friendly podcast, so we're good, especially a GoodSpark.
No, I mean, it is a dog friendly podcast. So I think the biggest thing that I think you should know, it's not time for you to bark. It's not your turn on the podcast. Thank you. Sit down. Yeah. Most development companies are not going to sell for you. And so you got to understand there's 3 steps here. Like if I think of and I'm oversimplifying it, franchising your business, selling your first franchisee, and onboarding that franchisee. And the development companies tend to fall off after we franchise your business. And so that's where they say, go sell your first franchisee. They say, go spend 10 grand on a booth in an expo because you need to talk to candidates. Maybe if you have all the money in the world, maybe take that swing. But you got to understand those candidates are more widespread there. They're looking at everything. And so now you're going to compete against all those brands. And now you almost have to sell a franchise, then develop it. And so the statement is that there's a start and a stop to most businesses that will franchise your business. Most of it don't go to level one, which is help you sell your first franchise. And level two is how do I support this franchisee and make them profitable?
Yeah, and the ultimate goal is creating profitable franchisees. Um, so just understand the perspective of the development company. I would say don't get too enamored with validation's important, speaking to clients are important, but focus on tangible deliverables and be aware, I think, that what may have worked 10 years ago doesn't work anymore. And right now you need to bootstrap growth and gain a strategic advantage. It's not a passive process. It's not about someone supplying you with relationships or telling you to attend trade shows. Next Reddit question: how do I maintain control? I think this is a smart question. I'm assuming the question is, hey, I believe in my business. I love my brand. I love our customers. I love how we operate. I'm particular about our systems. If I franchise, how do I maintain control over how franchisees are going to be operating?
That's a tricky one. You can, in my opinion, you maintain control on the foundation of the brand, but you need to be willing to relinquish some control and freedom of operations because these aren't employees. These are people that are investors into your business and they should be treated like a partner. And so it's a tricky question because you should maintain brand standards, your logo, your product offering, uh, your colors, your processes, like how you do things. That's all foundational. But you have to give a little bit of freedom to how they go execute against it and guidance, not this is how you do it. Where I see brands get in trouble is they want to rule with the iron fist. And then franchisees are disengaged because they feel like it's them versus us. And these are people's life savings. And so if you have that, in my opinion, you have that fear of how am I going to be in complete control? You're not. And if you can't get over that, don't franchise.
I think that's perfectly stated. From a legal perspective, I'll add, um, many times people are worried about franchising and say, "Hey, I heard there's litigation." And my answer many times is there is, but it's less than you've realized from the perspective of there's litigation in all business activity. Or if you open up a new location and you partner with someone, there's litigation there. So if franchising is done the right way, with the right legal infrastructure, within your legal infrastructure, within your franchise agreement, you're going to have mechanisms of control over the franchisees, how they operate, where they operate, supply chain. So you will have a good level of control. Nick's advice is really at another level in terms of practical, which is, hey, you're going to have this legal ability to a certain extent. But if you're thinking about franchising, you need to understand you're going to be relinquishing some control. You really need to create a win-win relationship with your franchisees who are going to be replicating and creating their own businesses under your model. So you do give something up. There are definitely legal protections, and it's definitely a balancing, right? And then to Nick's ultimate point, which is your primary obligation as a franchisor is going to become making your franchisees profitable. And if that means being stringent on, hey, you need to buy from this supplier because of quality, then you're going to have every ability to enforce that. And then also understand franchising scalable. We have clients where they say, Charles, I'm happy with my business in this particular state. I want to maybe just sell 20 franchises in, hub and spoke model. I'm going to open up a commissary. I want to supply all these particular things and we could build around that. But ultimate point, you are giving up some control. And that's also where the ability to scale and grow, right? Franchisees, they're investing capital, they're investing time. And so you need to build a team around them. If you do it the right way, I think control happens naturally. It becomes something that's a win-win. The last on the top five, right? Which I'm not sure this is a question. Allegedly, it is in the top five when I researched it. It's like, where do I start? And then in parentheses, there were it said royalties, territory, termination. And I think, is this a question by someone who wants to franchise their business where you become a franchisor? Or is this someone that wants to buy a franchise, becoming a franchisee? Either way, it showed up in the top five list. And I think it's relevant. Of course, we'll take it from the franchisor perspective. Where do they start? And then royalties, territory, termination as a side issue, I guess.
Where do you start? Well, you've had to have had a business that has been tested enough, and probably you've had some people say, "Have you ever thought about franchising?" So there has to be that baseline. At that point, if it were me, I've now established my business. Now I want to see about franchising my business, and this is going to go counter. I would use ChatGPT, and I would say, what should I know about franchising my businesses? What are the pros and cons? Have a basic conversation with AI. It'll set you up well. It's a good consultancy to set the tone. I would probably pick two consultancies. I'd fill out the form and test it for culture match. Just like a franchisee is going to buy your brand, they're going to buy based on your culture and by the business opportunity. So I would look at a culture match with two businesses to see how it fits. And then before I say yes, I'm probably working through my pro forma so that I have some sort of sense of how much is this going to cost me? At what point do I start seeing a return? So you franchise your business, you sell your first franchise in your first year, that franchisee gets open by year 2, and you collect a full year of royalty in year 3. In that scenario, you're going to go 2 years, and does the cash flow from your business support everything that you're doing to get you to the point where now royalties are coming in? And so it's a good exercise to go through, and that timeline could speed up a little bit, but it allows you to just get comfortable with the idea that this is you investing in a whole nother business. This is the second business that you own when you when you create a franchise company. And so going through that process, it's a broad stroke question, but I think that'll help guide you.
Yeah, look, where you start, I think videos like this and these conversations, I think that's one. Definitely validate. I mean, a lesson we all learn in life is like, take advantage of the lessons that other people have learned in their pathways and what's created success. So as a new franchisor entering the franchise space, don't just look at the big companies, the McDonald examples and their variations of these big companies. That's not your pathway. You're an entrepreneur, you're a business person, you're going to scale your business, you want to create a next generation brand, which what the thing that motivates me every day, I've seen, brands and businesses with two people in a remote location end up with a franchise support team of over 100 and a national brand. So that ability is there. Understand their scalability. Where do you start? Videos like this, more conversations about what it takes to succeed, but you really need to dive into the hows. Like if someone just says, I'll sell for you, or go to a franchise trade show, or we'll make connections with salespeople, that's not enough. So you got to dig deeper as to what creates success. Look for franchisors that have not succeeded already. Well, those, but also look for the ones that are in the journey. They're rolling up their sleeves, they're building their businesses, they hit frustration points, and who's helping them move forward. So I would check that out. So those are Top 5 questions, franchising your business on Reddit. Hey guys, also check out GoodSpark. If you're interested, take a look at GoodSpark's Friend Camp conferences. That's where you're going to meet up with other franchisors, have conversations, get inside tracks. Plus, their boot camps. They're focused on brand story. They're both focused on budgeting, growth strategy. That's how you're going to build the inside track. Don't just pay everyone, for all these package fees. Get the inside track from speaking with other people. And also, if you think about franchising, reach out to our team. Glad to have a conversation.
And smash the like button and the subscribe button, because that's what you should be doing, is smashing those all day long.
Yeah. Please like our channel. I think we have like 5 likes right now, not 5 subscribers right now, which we just started, right? Which
Yeah, but if someone's watching this in a year and a half from now, there could be 1,000.
Yes, there will be. And by the way, guys, behind the scenes at GoodSpark, Nick and I started this after many years of working together here, me at the Internicola Law Firm, Nick at Mainland Franchising, and we believe there's a better way to build your franchise system. And that's why we're devoting team and resources to doing this and bootstrapping a ton of growth.
And because we're in like the aftermath of our conversation, and just so you know, we argue on a daily basis. And so that means if we don't just generally agree on things, that means we're doing this for the best interest of you.
Yeah, and put a comment if you like my comments better here. All right, Nick, we did a good job today, I think.